Hi there. Welcome to our second episode. Chad and Jamie here with you. Thanks for hanging out with us on YouTube, Facebook, whatever you might be joining us from. He's Jamie Golliver, fresh off of a little spring break escapade. Uh, a funnel cake, fudge tracking, bear hunting, uh, Smoky Mountain.
As that
Yeah.
Sasquatch
What
spotting,
did you
Dolly
go to
Parton
Dollywood?
referencing.
Did
We
you
did
go to
not go to
Dollywood?
Dollywood. No, we
No.
did not go to Dollywood. Just kind of actually stayed up in Cherokee, North Carolina for a couple of days, just north of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge in the Sevierville triplex area.
Okay.
Triplex, I don't know if that's a word, metroplex at
Maybe.
least. But yeah, and like you said, ate a little fudge. Did not get into the funnel cakes. Did see a
Okay.
bear or two. Uh, Wanted to go looking for Sasquatch. Dying to nix that one pretty quickly. But yeah, just a little getaway here as we're as we're out on spring break. True story. One year, they had the Sasquatch convention up in Gatlinburg at the convention center, and Diana broke this to me actually on this trip. I didn't know it until we were just up there. She's like, "Yeah, Jamie, I was going to get you tickets to that, but man, I saw video footage of the past ones and just didn't think it was the right fit." So,
Have
so I
you ever
appreciate that.
watched those shows? We're completely off topic here, but have you ever
Yeah.
watched those shows, Chasing Sasquatch or whatever it's called, or Finding Bigfoot on
Yes.
TV?
Like Bigfoot Bounty.
Yeah, my
Check because
favorite is when they make comments like, "Oh, it smells like a squatch."
yeah. Well, another true story. I had one of those shows on one night, and the guy's like, "I do believe it's Bigfoot scat," and like it zoomed in on the supposed Bigfoot scat, and then cut to a dramatic musical cue, and then a commercial break. And Diana looked at me and said, "I am not watching this all night." So yeah, so we
Or
turned
when
it.
they say, "Oh, it's the mating call." That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's one of the all timers. All right, all right.
Guys, we've got two cues here: Bigfoot scat, a mating call. And I tried to trick Diana into watching it. I told her Finding Sasquatch was a rom-com dating show, but she did not fall for that. I
Well,
said it's
so let's see.
awesome.
Funnel cakes, bears, Cherokee, North Carolina, and hopefully you spotted 2 or 3 blackjacks, somewhere up there as well.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, alright. So,
That would have been good.
speaking alright, since it apparently you didn't hit the progressive slot, let's chat a little bit about how people can handle some of their financing and budgeting and mortgage and real estate and whatnot. So I thought that this first show would be technically second after our introduction last week. I thought it would be good and fun though, for you to share kind of why you think this is important. We're talking about really something that I think is such fundamental piece of life that is so poorly taught and poorly shared. Some of the basic information for things like this. So, wanted to get your take on why things like mortgages and financing and kind of what piqued your interest in this and why you thought it was such an important piece of society that you decided to team up with us.
Well, and to be honest, as somebody that went through some financial struggles early on, it really just spoke to me. And I'm a numbers guy. I'm a logistics guy anyway. Never taught math a single day in my life, but I love math. I love logistics, and that kind of delves into the area of market and economy and things like that. So that's what sparked my interest. Plus, our long-standing friendship going back, as we mentioned last week, almost 25 years now, Chad, if you can
Yeah.
believe that. So I had a real interest in it just from like I said, a finance perspective, a mathematics, a logistical viewpoint on it. And then personally, we bought our first house when I was 38 years old. And I thought, man, if I had known some things, earlier than that, I wouldn't have had to play catch up that took me so long to get to that point that it took me, until I was that age to feel really comfortable and confident with purchasing a house, which you were there, every step of the way with us. And Diane and I still talk about that all the time, how big a help you were. And just, man, I learned so much from that process that I just wanted to extend that learning that I did on a personal level to other people because, we talked about we want things that we discuss and share with folks to be relatable and relevant. And I think no more, or nothing more relatable and relevant can come from personal experience. And that was our experience with buying a home and some of the things we went through to get to that point to where we, eventually could.
What's interesting about what you just said there is since I can go back to, I think, second grade, Chapman Elementary School, Northeast Huntsville. And
Yeah.
I remember going door to door and asking for donations for jump rope for heart. And that was a thing where back in elementary school is people would pledge certain amounts of money based on how many jump ropes you could do in a certain amount of time at school. And so literally just go door knocking. And that's kind of how I got going in the sales career. Ventured out into radio and advertising and real estate and now mortgage and so forth, but have always kind of been in sales. And so people ask me a lot, in today's career about sales and how do you sell and how's it, come naturally for you or whatever. And one, I'm flattered that some people think that. But the second piece is, when we're talking about houses and finances and, it really becomes more about stories, like you just mentioned. And for me, the stories are kind of what make the job bearable. Because let me just tell you guys, like asking for your W-2s and asking like what happened on your credit report 3 years ago and asking you to explain why somebody else pulled your credit and what this deposit is and what that, like, I really couldn't give two hamster, what about any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't care. I really don't. The problem is it's necessary in order to get to the end goal, which is helping families. So, really, the stories are the best part. And I just think that um, people I've worked with over time have just done such a good job of actually looking at it a little deeper like that, where it's, hey, let's talk about the story and how do we make things better? How do we put you in a better situation versus, yeah, here's your rate and here's your cost and I need this checklist and okay, thanks for your business and I collect a check and let's move on and we're done. Having an impact and that's why I'm excited, for you to be with us now is because, uh, again, just the story, started 15 years ago on a drive up to Kentucky, I believe it was in the middle of the night, where we did some
Absolutely.
things that were completely dangerous on the road, but it was still fun uh, with
Um,
with
if
driving
a
up to
country song,
Lexington.
if a country song was ever written about that night, I think it would be called "Cheese Crystals and a Cracked Window." So
Yeah, and a 4:30, what was it? A 4:30 a.m. curtain call and an 8 a.m. wake up call or something like that. It was,
absolutely, and
yeah,
never has there ever been a more beautiful rendition of "Zombie" by the Cranberries
yeah.
on the Bluegrass Turnpike as you and I uttered that night, sometime in the deep darkness of mid-October.
That was a fun night, a long night, but a fun night. Really enjoyed that. So, all right, the stories and actually digging in and helping people, that is such a cool part of this whole thing. And again, it does make the job, you know, bearable because dot collecting is not fun. Helping people is fun. So the problem though is so many people come to me all the time and I'm not faulting them, but they say, I don't know where to begin. Like some of
Mhm.
them do because they've done it before, but some of them have also done it so long ago that they don't remember or it's changed. Some of them have never done it before. But tell me, you know, in from your point of view, because I see this every day, but you kind of joining and coming in off the street there, what are some things people just constantly miss, or things that the average person is scared to ask about or talk about or doesn't know what to ask or talk about? Because you've been through this a couple of times. You've purchased, you've refinanced. Um,
Mhm.
you're in such a better position than you were before, which is the goal. But what are some of the things that you yourself and then others, tend to maybe be nervous about or scared of or unaware of or unsure of? Go down that road.
I think a lot of people, and this was our case for sure, just don't know, where they stand from a qualification standpoint. Really,
Yeah.
what are their finances? What are they looking like? What will ding us? What will not? And I believe a big roadblock, Chad, and something that we got over pretty quickly because working with you, man, it became natural to just share things with you because you were non-judgmental. You were very open and honest about everything. And that allowed Diana and I just to ask as many questions that we felt we needed to ask about our finances, about our credit. What do
Mhm.
you have to do to qualify? If you do qualify, what does that process look like? What should you make sure you not ever do when you're in the qualification process? And I know a hashtag Patriot package. We'll talk about that later. Um, not my nickname in college, by the way. But just things like that. What are people hesitant to share about themselves, either financially or with some past troubles, and just having that confidence to not only try to get what they want, but to ask the questions to help get them there and to help navigate them down the correct path. And I think that's the case with a lot of things in life. People, are afraid to share things because they don't want to be judged. They feel one way or another about something. Maybe something happened that's in the past, and they wonder, man, is this going to be a blot? Is this going to be a dark mark on whatever it is? And to me, that was our biggest journey and our biggest revelation. And to me, it was an eye opener in that you realize as you go along this path, if you're looking, to purchase a home or to refinance or just some financial question in general, some literacy points of it, man, so many people have been through a lot of the very things that you've been through, very similar situations and circumstances. And I think out of that, being able to relate your experiences to other people, again, in that non judgmental way, is just huge for people to be more comfortable with opening up about, well, what about this and this and that? Because the more questions they ask, Chad, as you well know, the more answers will come about and your options open up too a lot. And that was our experience, Diane and I, when we were looking the first purchase. I was like, there is no way in the world. In fact, Diana tells a funny story. She jokes on me about this all the time. This was circa 2008. There was a house for sale in Athens. She said, Jamie, they are moving this house $40,000. And according to her, my quote was, oh, Diana, it's a little steep, baby, a little steep. So, because at that point, I didn't know what we could and couldn't afford. I was very nervous and hesitant about it, And about a year later, you and I started talking about things. And, in fall of 2010, we purchased what's been a wonderful house, not just because of the location and the size and the condition, but it's turned into a phenomenal investment for us too, as you well know, Chad, buying this house that we live in now, still today, almost 15 years later. But I think that's the big thing, educating people in a way to where they feel comfortable with asking questions so that they can have as much knowledge as possible with making the best decision possible.
And also, don't forget that property that Jamie still lives at is also the host of the Golliver Games every year, which airs
Correct.
live on Facebook. So I know they didn't have it this
Correct.
year or last year, but it's returning. I understand.
The Golliver Games will be back. COVID has knocked out the Golliver Games 2 years in a row. Chad, even the Olympics had to take a break every now and then. So we will be back with the Golliver Games bigger and better than ever. And I'm still waiting for you to make your surprise appearance. I've got the fog machine and the pyrotechnics and the air horn sound on the phone ready to go. But
Uh,
seriously, it's been the Golliver Games. We have a lot of our family gatherings here. It's been a great house, and I'll tell you, and Chad, you remember this. I asked you 1,000,001 questions, but you answered every one. And the more questions, or the more that I would ask you questions and I would get answers, the more comfortable I became with asking more questions.
yeah.
And I think that's the key, and that's where we want to help people. Folks who have questions, we want them to feel comfortable and confident with asking us because been there, done that. Chad, I know you have as well. We all have different experiences, but in those different experiences are a lot of the similar occurrences too that kind of make the composite overall experience that we all have.
Well, The biggest thing you said there, that I need to reiterate is the no judgmental zone. It really is. Whenever you talk, I've heard story after story. Likely, I've experienced the story at some point. Most people know. I mean, if you don't, you'll look it up in public record. I filed bankruptcy before. I mean, it happens. Economies go up, economies go down. We make good decisions, we make bad decisions. I've never known anyone that's made nothing but good decisions all,
Nope.
all their life when it comes to
Nope.
budgets and finances and everything else. Everybody has some peaks and valleys. So, really, when we want to hear the story, it's to relate and connect. But it's also to help guide a path, because if we don't know all the details, if we don't know the full story, we could blindly be, unfortunately, maybe leading you in a direction we shouldn't or that you don't want. So that's why it's so important to kind of build that relationship and that trust. Um, Last thing here, and there's a soapbox episode we can do sometime about what I think and how society and schools and universities and just society as a whole completely fails in education and teaching of some of the basic fundamentals. I always make a joke that in Bob Jones High School in ninth grade, I learned the molecular composition of an organism of some animal or thing I don't even remember to this day, but nobody taught me how to file my income taxes, which is required by federal law every single year on April 15th. And it's late if not done by October 15th. So, just some of those basic things baffle me. I just don't understand them, but that's for another day. So wrapping things up here, what would you say? Obviously, they could call and talk to us, and we're going to encourage that. Um,
Absolutely.
but second piece, what else could some people do? Or what did you do or wish you had done? What are some things people might, look into or check out? Just to try to educate or help themselves, or you know, put themselves in a little better situation.
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, Diane and I sitting down and talking through things together, and
True.
having a plan in place. Having and that really all starts with a monthly budget. And listen, as educators, we get paid once a month. Been that way for me for almost 28 years now. Still a monthly, I don't want to say challenge, but man, working that monthly budget can get
Yeah.
interesting. Some months more than others, but I think knowing, you know, you hear that phrase, living within your means, but honestly, what do you want and what do you need? And Chad, that's another big part of that educational literacy piece: wants versus needs. And
Yeah.
I think being able to streamline your wants versus your needs and balancing that, and then getting to a good place, whether you're purchasing a house or any kind of big purchase. As you mentioned, purchasing a house, man, that's a huge life event right there. So I think just having a real inner look at your own personal finances and where you're at opens the door for what you're going to do really with anything. And I think sometimes in our daily lives, we all get so busy with work and our families and, other things we got going on that, time flies by and it's before you know it, you're like, okay, well, I didn't realize maybe that I had spent this, or I didn't realize that I had accumulated maybe this debt here, or, man, it's already March, like right now, right? Mid
Yeah.
March. I say this one a lot. This is one of my favorite quotes: the days are long, but the years are short. So I think to me, something that's important, again, that we're still working on ourselves personally, um, is having a monthly plan and working that plan to where you can get ahead and down the road may be soon down the road, it may be farther down the road, being able to couple a plan with knowing what your questions and answers are, then being able to do what you want to do financially and in life, and
Yeah.
having fun and working hard and playing hard, if that's in the equation based upon where anybody is. And that's where we want to help people and talk about our own experiences and what's doable for people. I think once people can realize what's doable for them and can share what's doable for them, say with us or with others that can help, to me, that's a missing piece right there. I think a lot of times it's taking the time individually, whether it's somebody who's single, or somebody who's married as a family and looking at themselves and talking about, hey, where are we now? What can we do? What do we want to do? How do we get there? And what's the path to getting to that point? I think that's huge, taking time to kind of see where you're at, kind of that introspective look, if you will.
Yeah, such a great point. So many families, admittedly, sometimes my own family, one side, you kind of compartmentalize your strengths, right? And so sometimes families or spouses or whatever don't always have a plan, or they don't talk about certain things, or one carries a certain burden or weight, or one works and brings money in, the other takes care of the house and the kids, which is beyond a full-time job. um, those things happen. Every family dynamic is a little bit different. So that's a great one, actually. Is it's really honestly better than reading any book or reading something online. I mean, those things can be helpful, but just starting at your own home and talking it out and kind of putting it on paper at the dining room table is a good place to start, and at least mapping something out. So um
Yeah, and Chad, I think a big part of that too uh, is again, like you said, just knowing where you're at and asking questions of yourself.
well, I want to share this because you have a fantastic spouse, and this we had some technical difficulties before the show tonight, and
Oh
uh
no!
Ja-
Oh, I can't believe she saved this picture. This is good right here.
so this is Jamie's technical abilities over here. They, just as an FYI, they go in the other way, just in case you were curious. They
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
got to
just so
rotate them
everybody, yeah, yeah,
right here. Yeah,
uh,
this
yeah, yeah.
this here is supposed to be down by the lobe, is where it goes.
Yes, like I am wearing now. And by the way, I think I used the word rotate when Dinah took that initial picture. Because yeah, I had just gotten these AirPods. Was trying to, as you can see by the picture, was unsuccessfully trying to figure out how to put these things in. And Dinah snapped a picture, sent them to my daughters, and it's yeah. Apparently, she has this archived, so this is wonderful.
That's so great.
Um,
I'm so
yeah.
glad she sent that to me a minute ago. So good. Um,
Thanks, Diana.
all right. All right, that's our second episode. So real quick,
Yeah,
let's talk about one. You can visit website up here, chadwickanderson.com. Over there are the different socials that I participate in, and the handle to follow. Jamie technically has social media, just not as uh, not as
and a notepad, and a
yeah, and the
notepad.
notepad. We're gonna get him going more on it. But he is very visible on Facebook, so make sure you follow there. In the video description and down in the comments and everything, there's a calendar link, and a link to a page if you would like to just chat with us, ask questions, explain your situation or scenario, brainstorm, whatever the case is. There's a spot there where you can jump straight on our calendar and be able to do that. So we invite you to, if you'd like. That's right there. Feel free to click the link, set something up. And we also enjoy anything you do as far as commenting, direct messages, text messages, if you have our phone numbers. If you don't, they're not very hard to find. Mine's all over the internet, not in bathroom stalls, but on the internet. So again, hope you guys enjoy these episodes, and joining us in a little bit of a journey together as well. And we'd love to help you out, if there's something that you may need or want some direction on. So
And Chad, what's rewarding about this is we are able to help others, and I'm just pumped about this. Being able to help others, that's really what it's all about. So, yeah, definitely reach out to us. We're looking forward to working with everybody, and thanks for taking time to watch this video, and please follow up with us. And I will give a free autographed picture of the upside down AirPod to the first person who accesses that calendar link.
hey, you know what? That actually would be such a great. That should be the trophy for the Golliver games, is the autograph picture of the upside down AirPods.
I need to just spray paint that AirPod gold in the golden AirPod, but the winner has to wear it, yeah, the other way. So
Hey. All right. Thanks for hanging out. For Jamie, I'm Chad. We'll catch you next week. Take care.